Welcome back, bakers. Welcome to the Fancy Cakery. In this episode, we are just going to make some cake, make some frosting, and just throw it all together. It's really no stress, very simple, very easy. And if you believe any of that, then you definitely have to watch this video. If I got paid by the dishes, I would definitely be able to charge more because there's a lot of washing in these projects. And I went ahead and showed you a video on how I made my beautiful cake board, my custom made cake board. And you could go ahead and watch that video. I'll try to link it above if you're interested. You can kind of use this technique on other things other than just cake boards. And I'm not using my little mixer. I have to actually pull out the big one because if you could imagine doing multiple batches when you can kind of get away with doing one big batch, it surely helps. And that takes me to another thing when you're making tiered cakes. You got to buy a lot of supplies. And I boil water constantly. Grease, butter, sugar. It takes a lot of heat to kind of melt that. And I talk to my fishy while I wash dishes. Hi, Precious. And I got to make my filling. So we're going to do this. And you see how hot that is? Obviously, I can't make that the same day. So there's a lot of time management involved. You got to figure out what needs to get done first, what needs to cool, what needs to, kind of set up. I'm cooling my cakes in my freezer. And in case you didn't know, my laundry room is a laundry room. I have signs everywhere. Yeah, my husband hates that. So we're getting ahead and we're going to make this is my cheat Swiss meringue, and I will go ahead and make a video of that soon of how you can make a cheat Swiss meringue, which is super delicious. I love it. And it's much easier than the original. And a trick, well, it's not a trick, it's a must. You always have to taste your goods because you don't know, you might make a mistake. And there we go. We're finished with day 1. And now day 2 begins, re-ripping our frosting and getting that ready to put on our cake. I totally made a mistake. I thought I pressed play, but I pressed stop. And so I missed the whole series of how I actually put the dowels in my cake and got it ready to stack on top of each other. So I'm sorry about that. Next time I'll make sure. But I was concentrating. This was a real cake that I had to give away. And this is just one of the messes that I left. I always keep my bucket full of hot soapy mop water to clean my floor. I'm constantly cleaning, re-dirtying, cleaning, re-dirtying. There's crumbs everywhere. There's that pot of greasy buttercream. There's crumbs. My family's going to pick on those. They're going to go all over the floor. It's a hot mess. And like I said, this is probably one of 5 messes that I have to clean up. And you can't move on until you've cleaned the first mess. Lots of washing dishes. And so I'm just going to go ahead now and put on my buttercream and start to dress my tiers. And yeah, the family is in the kitchen with you, and they still have to eat. So you gotta clean up their mess too and keep them out of your mess and keep your hands out of the buttercream. Gosh, I was almost there. Now I have to start all over again. Let's get to the pretty part, putting the prettiness on the cake. This is my favorite part. If I could just skip the rest of that and just go straight to this, I would. Did you know that colors, either some of them fade or some of them get darker? So mixing colors is stress in itself. And I was putting that buttercream down as my glue. I do have some sticky tape under there, but I didn't really trust it. I trust kind of both because the buttercream does act like a glue. And honey, I don't have any cakes extra in this house. So if that was to fall or if I was to damage that, I am pretty stuck. And I don't have time to bake another cake. So you gotta be ready. You gotta be steady. This is buttercream. It's not like fondant where if you touch it, it won't dent. You will absolutely mess up the whole thing. So you gotta get it just right. It's your heart is, you kind of chew on your heart a little bit because it could be kind of daunting. And let's get ready to just pretty this cake up. Sometimes I have a design that the client gives me that I have to stick to, like right to the T. But in this one, I just had a color and some pictures. So I kind of just put it together based on the colors that she gave me. She did want the rosettes. That had to be done. And she did have a picture of the top tier with the, my ridges that I do that I've showed you 100 times. So I just did that. But everything else was kind of optional. So this is the part where sometimes I plan it out to the T ahead of time. But I kind of didn't with this one. Let's see where it took me. And I'm using just lollipops to be the base of my roses. And I don't have time to let these dry. So they're gonna have to be put on the cake without drying, which means that I'm gonna have to drape them and fix them on the cake, and they'll dry on the cake. I do like to do this ahead of time, but this was a last minute order. This was a rush order. So she actually knew that I got a little leeway because I did not have advance notice at all. So I just did the best I could come up with, try to get creative, doing my little marble little flowers. Yeah, sometimes I just never know what I'm going to do. And sometimes looking back, I'm like, should I have done that? But, that's just how it is. You just do it and see what comes up and see where your mind takes you. And that's kind of the fun part. That's the part I like, just to get creative. But it is nice to have a kind of a plan, because sometimes you could really mess up when you just let yourself go and just put things on at the last minute. Some things you add at the last minute kind of doesn't work, but you did it. You already added it, so you can't take it off. So sometimes it's good to sketch it out and have a real good plan and kind of really see, does this work with this? Does this work with this? No. Well, and sometimes that's just how it goes. So I'm just putting my little frills together and putting it on the cake and just seeing, do I need anything else? And just prettying her up. And this is the final product. How do you think? Let me know in the comments. Did you think I should change anything? Now that you've watched the whole video, you have two choices. You can like and you could subscribe. You could like or subscribe, or you can do both and watch these other two videos.